Howdy, howdy. Welcome back. It's another Workshop Wednesday. This week's edition is getting started. And we're going to talk about measuring results in GA4 using what we call the A.C.E. method. All right, before we get too far into this, welcome if this is your first Workshop Wednesday. My name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. And I am the co-founder of a company called measurementmarketing.io. And however you found us, maybe through some of the podcasts and talks that we give, maybe it's through some of the other platforms that we share some of our platform content with, like CX Institute or Digital Marketer, maybe even Measure Summit, which, by the way, is coming up in October. So make sure to go to measuresummit.com and register for Measure Summit. And maybe you're already a member over at measurementmarketing.io, whether you're a free toolbox member, whether you're a student, whether you are a professional member, whether you're a part of the Academy for agencies and teams. However you found us, we're happy that you're here. It's our job to help you learn how to use these tools. And in particular, we're going to talk today about Google Analytics. And obviously that means Google Analytics 4, the new kid on the block, so that you can learn how to actually take advantage of this tool to make sure that you're measuring the proper results. Now, we do talk about the Measurement Marketing Academy. That is our flagship training program. So if you really do want to understand measurement marketing in all of its glory and learn not just Google Analytics 4, but Tag Manager, Data Studio, and more important, strategy, understanding measurement strategy. That's kind of what the platform is for. So yes, you learn all the tactics. Yes, you learn how to use all the cool tools, but it's really also there to teach you strategy. So that's the Measurement Marketing Academy, more at the end of the content. Of course, speaking of content, one thing, remember, this is the one thing slide. You focus on one new idea that you hear, one new technique. Maybe it's something that you just hear taught slightly differently than you've heard it before. And you go, okay, I can actually take advantage of this. Make it a skill, practice it. Then come back, rewatch this workshop, and you'll pick up another new one thing. And that is how you learn stuff, especially complicated stuff like this, one step at a time without getting overwhelmed and frustrated. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Getting started, measuring results in GA4 using the A.C.E. method. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. We always start with the framework. Remember, we plan, we build, we launch. As marketers, we are typically marketing in the blind, and we really want to get to a point where we are reliably growing revenue and profits. And the way that we do that is just by using a system, so that it's a symptom of using a proper system. So remember, 3 steps: plan, build, and launch. But the key is in how we do that. So we ask results and how questions. We gather the information, in other words, the behaviors that we need to get answers to those questions. And most importantly, we think about the actions we're going to take based upon the answers that we're about to get. Then we move into the build. Now, this is where today's workshop really focuses, because it's all about the results. Yes, it's important that you understand how to set up a goal if you're using Universal Analytics or what they call a conversion event in GA4, but it's not just how to set it up, it's what should a goal even be? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So you'll understand that using the A.C.E. method. Then, of course, you make sure you're using UTMs, you get your traffic connected, and you set it up in a way that tells a story of which traffic sources are causing which results. Finally, you use the thing, right? We use our measurements. So we listen to the conversation that's happening between the users and the website, and we get our trends and patterns. When we have those, we can then forecast what our near future is going to look like. And then we can measure against our forecasts, because we are marketing forward. That's what tells us where to optimize, because you're going to see exactly what's working and what's not, so that you can focus your resources. And of course, that is how we get to the point of reliably growing revenue and profits. So that's the measurement marketing framework in a nutshell. Today's guest instructor is returning champion Julie Brade. She's our lead instructor over at measurementmarketing.io. She's been teaching this stuff practically forever in the internet days, since 2017, works with our dedicated management clients, just has a ton of experience with this, an absolute Data Studio rock star. She teaches all of our Data Studio stuff as well. And she uses this A.C.E. method constantly. So not only does she teach it for a lot of different business models, she uses it for us, right? For measurementmarketing.io stuff as well. So we thought Julie is just an absolute perfect person to be able to bring on to this whole thing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hand it over to Julie Brade.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Mercer. Before we jump into actual Google Analytics 4 or Tag Manager or anything like that, let's go ahead and hop into one of our favorite tools, Lucidchart, because before we build, we always plan. And this particular workshop that we're doing right now is not going to be a deep dive into the strategy behind your ACE results, or what we used to call ACE goals, because we do have a workshop that's already back there in a workshop library, and some tools and stuff that are back there that go through the strategy. We're going to give a quick overview of the strategy, the planning, and then we'll dive into how to use that inside Google Analytics 4. So we have a very simple funnel shown here inside of our Lucidchart. And the way our ACE results work is we have our A for a where. Then we're going to make that a little bit bigger so we can see that easily. And let's make this bigger. There we are. And so then we have aware. And then for the C is complete or completion, depending on how you're using it in a sentence. And engage, and that would be your E. So when you're going through a funnel or your user is going through your funnel, you want to know when they are aware, whether that, whatever that is, whatever signal you're going to use for that. You want to know when they complete and you want to know when they engage. And usually the order this actually happens is this way. And sometimes you can have several engagement steps along the way. Usually, when you're setting this up, you are going to start with your completion goal because usually that's something like an opt-in or a purchase or something like, hey, they did the thing that I wanted them to do. And so the completion goals are usually pretty easy to figure out, or the completion conversion or result, or depending on the platform you're using, is what you're going to call it. So for completions, it's usually pretty easy to figure those out. Aware and engage kind of depend on what it is that you're using them for, what you can use them to retarget for. That's where the beauty of this. So aware, you could say whenever they see the offer page, or you could possibly say, hey, when they're on the offer page for 10 seconds, meaning you don't want to count the people that maybe got there and then left right away, because maybe you don't want to retarget those. You only want to target the people that were hanging out for a little bit. And so you're going to have that as an awareness, conversion, goal, result, however you want to use that could be your A, and this for the regular funnel. Then engagement, it could be, you could have it where they view the cart page. That could be your E for this one. Your engagement could be the cart page. And the awareness could be the page view here, and then your completion, as we mentioned, would likely be your thank you page. Just something very simple like that. Well, what about a offer page like for an opt-in where there isn't a cart page? And so we are going to opt in offer page. So it's an opt-in page, and then right after that is just a thank you page. Let's kind of walk through this. And again, we have another workshop and more tools out there that dives into this a whole lot more. This is just a high-level overview to kind of show you what we're thinking. We're going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, so an opt-in offer page. So whatever page it could be. So something that you want the user to see. You can also use the awareness. So it could be when they just get to the page, so as we say, we land on the page, or if they're on the page for 10 seconds. It could also be an awareness, could be maybe they watched a VSL, so obviously not this, but maybe they watched a VSL to the point where the offer pops up. That could be an awareness, depending on how it is that you're trying to define that. Or some of us would actually call that engage. They engaged with the video long enough that they saw the offer. So just kind of thinking through, there's so many different ways you can mix and match these to be able to answer your questions. And that's how we always start, is we want to make sure that we're answering the questions that we have. So in this example, the question you could have is, well, how many people are seeing the offer page and how many people are, completing? So we know that getting to the thank you page is going to be the completion, but what could be the engagement on something like this? It could be maybe your engagement is actually something in between this. So it could be they're engaging with the form, or maybe it is that they're on the offer page for a certain amount of time, as we mentioned before. So let's see, instead of cart page, this is going to be on page 10 seconds. Just because you want to see, like, they're actually hanging around and checking things out. So there's lots of different ways where you can have your aware, completion, and engagement results, or your ACE results, help you out on your page to be able to tell the story so that you can kind of see where you can improve and optimize from there. So now that we've kind of have our overall plan, and again, this is just a super high level overview. There's a lot more detail that kind of goes into this. We have other workshops and other courses that kind of go that, but we're going to now hop into the different pages that we were just looking at. So here is the Academy offer page. We're saying, hey, here is this. When they see this page, this is going to be the actual aware. And then if they come, and this is the toolbox, this is the one we just talked about with the free offer. And so we're going to say if they are here, they're going to be aware. If they are here for maybe 10 seconds, they're going to be engaged. And then if they actually opt in, that's going to be a completion. So we've kind of gone through all of that. And now that we have kind of our URLs and we kind of have this plan, we can hop into Google Tag Manager. And this is actually our real Google Tag Manager. We have lots of teaching stuff back here. But let's go ahead and talk about how we would set this up inside of Google Analytics 4. And this works very similarly to any other platform that you have. So if you have Kissmetrics or if you have anything else, this strategy absolutely still works. If you have able to send events or able to send signals of any kind into your platform, this still works. We're going to focus on GA4 because that's kind of like the new kid on the block, but the concept still works. So we have come into a new tag. We have our tag configuration. We're choosing a GA4 event, and then we're going to choose what it is that we have set up for config and page view. We're choosing this one. For us, that's what it is. And then we have our event name. So because ACE results is kind of our own custom technique, our own method that we have created, there really isn't a pattern that we have to follow. I will give you a heads up that event names are alphabetized inside of Google Analytics 4. So if we were to say aware underscore academy, then that means then engage and then completion are all going to be kind of separated. You're going to have things like page views and clicks and videos and all that stuff kind of separating them out. So although we love hierarchy, in this particular case, because they're in alphabetical order, it is actually better to have this. So the product that they're aware of, or whatever it is that they're aware of, it could be just the brand, whatever it is that you want them to be, and then an underscore, because with events inside GA4 you cannot use hyphens or spaces, so you're going to use that underscore. And then we would add the trigger to whatever it is that we're saying. So remember, we have in here, we wanted it to be the page view. So we would come and grab our page view and we would set up our trigger for that. So we're going to quickly review how we would do that. And I actually already have one, but we would just come through and say page view and then some pages. And again, this is a getting started, not a beyond basic. So I'm going to do this pretty quickly. But you would be able to choose a page URL, contains, and then we would have this right here. I make sure I copy that, copy, and then we paste. And so there we go. And then I would name this, but I already have one, so I'm not going to duplicate because we've done that plenty of times while we've been teaching. And then we accidentally have too many more. So I'm actually going to look for this little part and piece real quick. And we're going to find the Academy page view. And because we have good naming conventions, here we go, Academy offer page. Boom, there it is. And so we have now event name, and then we have Academy offer page. And if we come over here, this one, once I save it, this one is done, complete. That one right there. And then we would just go through each one of these and do the exact same thing. And quite a lot of times you might already have, like if you have a e-commerce firing or purchase events firing to other platforms like Facebook and Google Ads or anything else, you likely already have the trigger, the when that this is supposed to fire. So you probably already have some of these pieces for you. Same thing with the opt-ins, with the free options that we have on this one here. You probably have some of those pieces there. So one other thing that you could do, and this one is a little bit more beyond basics, and so we're not going to cover it in this one, but in case you're wondering, yes, you absolutely could do aware like this, and then define what it is that they're aware of by using some things like a lookup table, a regex table, or something like that to identify those here inside your event parameters. But that is, again, a little bit more beyond basics, but just so you know, it is possible. And just letting you know that. So we're back here with our Academy Aware. So even if you weren't doing something a little bit more beyond basics in advance, you could actually add those parameters here. They're not required whatsoever. You absolutely can go ahead and save this without having anything here, but you can go ahead and add other information, like perhaps you have instead of just this one page, maybe there is, like, coming to our URL, maybe there is a -1, a -3, a -4, a -5, all kind of different pages. Maybe you have more than one version and you want to identify it. So maybe you want to do page underscore location, which is the proper format for page inside of GA4, and you would use a regex table, lookup table, another type of little bit more advanced, but you could utilize that as well, or technically that would be, you could do just the regular page URL as well. That would be one very simple way of saying so that the information of what page they're actually viewing is passed through with your Academy Aware. Again, a little bit more advanced, but just so you know, there are lots and lots of possibilities, but this is our good enough to get going, a way of making progress and not perfection. Those are two terms that we that we live and die by around here. So I'm going to say them again. Get good enough to get going. This right here, good enough to get going. Obviously, we name it and everything, but good enough to get going. Then come back and make it better. That's what you need to kind of keep in your mind. So don't try to make it perfect. You're going to need to make progress, not perfection. So I'm actually not going to save this because we already have one. And I'll go ahead and show you. This is part of the cooking show where the cake is already baked. So we're going to come in Aware and look at all the things we have for Aware. So we have GA4 Academy Aware, and look at our awesome naming conventions, Toolbox Aware. And so this is exactly what we have. We don't have any of that extra stuff. Even though technically we could, we didn't do that. We don't need it because we don't, that's not just something that's not part of our plan. Maybe if we have those questions and we come to our plan and we're like, hey, I really need to know which page it is, or something else very specific, then we would go through and back through our measurement marketing framework and go through our build again, our plan, then build again. All right, so let's go into, I'm actually going to go through, scroll down because they are in alphabetical order. It just goes another way of seeing the naming conventions and how useful they are. And so we have here, we have our universal events, and now here comes our GA4 events. And so GA4 Academy Aware, Academy Complete, Academy Engage. They're all grouped together, super easy to see. And then you can even see what are different triggers that we are using on these particular ones that we have here as well. And so I'm going to show you real quick just so you can see behind the scenes that it really is that simple, good enough to get going, and that's how you can set this up. If, and while we scroll down to look for Toolbox, if you've never used Tag Manager before and you're just a beginner, you could probably get this figured out and set up and all this stuff within the hour. If you are very familiar with Tag Manager, it'll probably take you about 10 minutes, just so you know that it's that simple to go ahead and set these up. So we're going to go ahead and show you real quick and just show you that there's nothing else in here that is making ours special. Ours is not anything special. We just have different triggers of the when that we want to fire them on. We worked with the marketing department so they can retarget a certain way, and we have those as well. So just want to show you that. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into Google Analytics 4 once we have all of this. So let's say we have this, we've gone through, you would go through and preview, make sure everything's firing the way you're expecting it to, and see all that stuff come through. So let's go into Google Analytics 4, and let's say you just published your changes 5 minutes ago. You come in here and like, where is your information going to be inside of Google Analytics 4? Well, you're going to come to Configure, and by default, you come to the section called Events. Fun fact with Google Analytics 4, it really truly means when it says, hey, your data is not going to be here for 24 hours, it really means it. So if you just published your changes a few minutes ago or an hour or two ago, very, very high chance you're not going to see data here for quite some time. I have not actually timed it, but it seems to be the true 24 hours. It might be around 20, but it's sometimes you have to come back the next day and see your data. So I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to get around that. But while we're doing that, while we're kind of waiting a moment for that, want to go through exactly what it is for Google Analytics 4 when we say that they don't have conversions anymore. So they now have something called conversions here. And remember, inside Universal Analytics, if you're familiar with Universal Analytics, you had your goals. And for us as instructors and with Ask Instructor support that we have, it was probably the most common question of some version of how do I fix my goal or how do I set up my goal. We would get this a few times a week, hundreds of different types of questions over the years about goals. It was very complicated the way Universal Analytics made it. So guess how complicated it is inside GA4? As you can probably figure out if you've been staring at my screen, you know it is not complicated at all. It quite literally is toggling this. And you can see mark as conversion. You can dive in if you want to hear more information about it. But if you're using Google Ads or anything like that, definitely highly encourage you to take advantage of these type of things. So this, it's kind of default. You can't turn it off because it's a purchase. But our generate lead, even though this is a default one, we could turn stuff off. So I want to show you real quick. If I go back over to our default events, and up here is also this mark as conversion. So under this event, I could come through here and say, I want to now mark this as a conversion. Someone scheduled, this is a brand new thing that we set up very, very recently. And I want to say that is a conversion. I want to mark that as a conversion. That's all I had to do. Quite simple. I highly doubt that we're going to be getting lots of questions about how to set up conversions inside GA4. Only because the hard part was actually, and I say that loosely with air quotes, hard part was everything that we did inside a tag manager and all of the planning that we did before. So the planning, the strategy, figuring that stuff out, and then the quick build. And again, remember, if you're familiar with tag manager, that's probably going to take you 10 minutes. And so the concept of conversions, or what Universal used to say goals, is so, so much easier. So the people at Google, good job. You guys knocked this out of the park on how to make goals, the old goals, the new conversions, so much easier. So as you can see, we already have our Academy Aware, Complete, and Engage marked as conversions. And again, because of the we got to make this a little bit more because of the naming conventions and alphabetical, it is easy to see these guys together. If we did aware underscore toolbox or aware underscore academy, they would be scattered throughout. And so that's the reason that we suggest you have it by the name and then underscore whatever, complete, aware, and engage. So now that you have this inside of Google Analytics 4. What happens if you were the person that published 5 minutes from now or 5 minutes ago and you're about to have a launch and you need them to mark as conversions now and you're not going to be able to watch the data come through? Well, let's go over here to our conversions. Then we can choose new conversion event and we type this in. So this is everything sensitive. So space sensitive, case sensitive, everything sensitive. And what we're going to do is basically, if you literally had just published something, we're going to find A.C.E.ing underscore aware. So what you would do is grab this, copy this, exactly what it is that you're telling Google Analytics for, and then paste it in. So now it's going to look for that and automatically start counting as a conversion. So you don't have to wait that 24 hours. So this is one of those pro tips, like if you're having a launch or having something you really need to start marking as conversion right away. By knowing exactly what the name is going to be, having that plan, you can set this up and go ahead and mark those conversions. Obviously, we already have that, so I didn't save it, but then it would show up here in your list and it would just show nothing. So that's just another pro tip. So now you have everything here. How do we use this inside of Google Analytics 4? How do we see our results from our ACE results? So we're going to go to reports, and one of the most common ways is to understand how your traffic is performing. And we're going to go to acquisition and then traffic acquisition. And a quick reminder, traffic acquisition is the place that you're going to want to go for answers about how your traffic is performing. User acquisition you will rarely use unless you're asking a very specific question. For example, if you're asking questions that are over multiple sessions, like a launch model or multiple emails or email campaigns, if you're asking those type of questions, user acquisition. Most of us are asking questions about what users are doing in one session. Did my Facebook ad cause a lead? Did my Google Ads ad cause a sale? Did my email campaign that I sent cause the person to buy in that one from that one email? So those are the very specific questions you want traffic acquisition. And because user is over multiple sessions, traffic is one session. So here's the default of what it looks like. And we're going to click on this down link. We're going to choose session source medium. And if you're thinking, hey, wait, that's not supposed to be there, I've looked before and it wasn't, you are correct. This is actually very new. They finally added session source medium in here. We used to have to kind of go through and customize. We have other workshops that show you how to do that, but this is new that we can now do this, which makes this part a whole lot easier. So now we are able to compare our traffic source medium against all of these different stats we have here. And so remember we have event count, but we have conversions, and then we can look at all of our different event names. And so this one is not technically alphabetical, but still good that we have all of these guys here. And so if we were running a certain type of traffic, we could obviously change this to campaign, ad content, or something that we would want to. Technically cannot change it to ad content yet. That's not available in this part of GA4 yet, but eventually it will be, and you'll be able to do that. But this will be able to compare which one of these traffic sources is causing the result based off of these different options. For instance, if you wanted to know if your email was, as we mentioned, causing a sale, or maybe our YouTube traffic is really supposed to get them to be toolbox aware, because that's where we kind of mentioned the free options a whole lot, and we want our YouTube traffic to be aware of that. And it actually doesn't seem like it's the leader in that. It's actually, oh, there it is. Now that makes more sense. That was actually really surprising to me. So it is seemed to be the leader in our toolbox aware, but also direct none. Does that make sense? Because we're on a lot of different podcasts and stages, and measurementmarketing.io is also the brand name and the website, and so we get a lot of direct none traffic for that. But are these traffic sources holding their own when it comes to completions? Is the YouTube social going to be the leader in completions? And as we have changed, no, it's not. So that YouTube conversion rate is going to be a whole lot lower than this direct none. And obviously, us at measuremarketing.io, we have dashboards with Data Studio, with Google Data Studio, and so we can see this stuff a whole lot easier there. But if you just want really quick answers and you're not quite ready for Data Studio, this definitely can help you get there. And please be on the lookout for upcoming workshops, or go check out those upcoming workshops that we will kind of dive into how do you now optimize with inside Google Analytics 4. And it's going to kind of take this and use the Explore report to be able to answer those questions. Like, now that you kind of can see these little discrepancies, but how do we see them all on the same screen so you can very quickly kind of see what's happening and be able to compare. So that's coming up very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you check that out. And one final note before I pass this back over to Mercer is, even though this is all about how to use the ACE results inside of GA4, just want to let you know, once you have your data inside of GA4, you make your reporting capabilities go up a whole lot. Even if you're not going to stay in GA4, having this and having these event names in here, even if you don't mark them as conversions, having this in here is going to make using Google Data Studio a whole lot easier. Same thing with other different ad platforms, being able to use this in this particular ACE results method. Being able to do that makes it a whole lot easier to retarget and talk to people in a very specific way. You want to be able to talk to people people that were aware but didn't engage. And so that means people that saw the offer page, maybe were on there for 5-10 seconds, depending on how you triggered it, the when that you fired it, and then but they didn't get to the cart. And so you can talk to those people in a very specific way. And then you can also say, okay, I want to know the people that were aware and engage but didn't complete. Again, you can talk to those in a very, very specific way as well. And again, this is not a Beyond Basics workshops, just getting started. But then you can take this information and use it inside your audiences, which again, Google Ads is going to be able to see that and use that. But then you can also do a whole lot more cool things inside of this audience report with that as well, which again, another future workshop on that particular topic, but so stay tuned for that one. But just letting you know all the different capabilities once you have this in here, once you start having this data collect, there's so many different opportunities for you to be able to see how your users are using your funnel and how to optimize from there and help you ask bigger and better questions as well. So that is using the ACE results method inside of Google Analytics 4. I'm going to hand it back over to Mercer.
Thank you, Julie. That was outstanding. Appreciate that. Again, Academy members, remember you can reach out to Julie at any point in time and ask instructor support. She's back there with the other instructors and can help you out with any questions you have when you're trying to figure out your own ACE results. Now, what was your one thing? I hope for many of you, it was just this concept of ACE. I know years ago, the reason we started doing this is because we used to teach goals over and over and all the tactics of how to set up a goal in Google Analytics. And then finally, somebody one day timidly sort of raised their hand and said, I get how to set a goal. I'm just not sure what a goal should be. And that's where the whole ACE model came from. So be sure to use the ACE method. I really love Julie's suggestion about just emphasizing how much easier this makes all things, not just Google Analytics, but also Data Studio. You can build audiences a little bit easier because you understand where in the customer journey your users are. And if you know where they are, you know how to improve the journey as you go through. Now, of course, remember when it comes to the framework, it fits in the results section. So that results section is where this ACE method is really utilized. All right, now next week's workshop, if you want to make sure that you get beyond basics, a little bit more of an advanced topic for those of you that are implementers out there, but we're going to talk about how to use the GA4 explorations. This is a whole other side of GA4 reporting that most individuals are not used to, but you can use these exploration reports to improve your conversions. So we're going to show you how to do that next week. If you want that workshop, just be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are just getting near 5,000 views, or I should say subscribers. So thank you for that. And thank you for those of you who are leaving the comments, who are leaving suggestions of different topics you want, and especially for those of you who are sharing with others. Could not do this without you. So thank you so much for doing that. The other way to get the training is, of course, we have two options for you. There's a free option called the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. It's our Toolbox membership. It's our free version of the Academy. Comes with a Workshop Wednesday for that week and also has all of the tools. So you get every week, you'll see those Workshop Wednesday, plus you have access to tools like the ACE Goals Planner. There's actually an ACE Planner back there. There's a traffic tracking toolkit back there. There's a revenue forecaster tool back there. We've created these tools for our members and we give them out to you for free, even Toolbox members, just our way of giving back. The only thing that I personally ask is that you use it. Because if you're not using it every about 90 days or so, if you're not logging in, you're not using the tools, we just ask you to free up your account for somebody else to take over. But other than that, it's yours. You can use it for as long as you want. Measure.tips/WW will take you to that page. It's just going to ask you for a name and email, and then you'll set up your account from there. And of course, as we mentioned earlier at the beginning of this broadcast, there is, of course, the Measurement Marketing Academy. That is our just-in-time learning platform. All those courses are back there. How to learn Tag Manager, whether you're a beginner or if you're an intermediate, you got some experience. We have beginner courses and advanced courses. These are full courses, by the way. So the same courses you see others that are selling their individual courses, you don't have individual courses in the Academy. We don't sell our courses individually. You just get them all. So you have all the Google Analytics courses from beginners up through advanced stuff, all the Tag Manager courses, all the Data Studio courses, all the strategy courses, and more. It's all in the Measurement Marketing Academy. Comes with instructor support where real, live, flesh and blood people who do this stuff every day will send you videos and help you out. That's the whole point of the Academy. So be sure to take a look at the current offers available to you. Just go to measure.tips/Get Academy to learn more about what options are currently available. And we look forward to seeing you in the Academy soon. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks again for watching Getting Started, measuring results in GA4 using the ACE method. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.